the Alpha's cursed mate, a cursed bond that even the Alpha cannot break. When Lysandra Vale is bitten beneath the full moon, she discovers a hidden bloodline that ties her fate to the ruthless Alpha Ronan Nightbane. What begins as resistance turns into forbidden passion, even as betrayal, curses, and rival pacts threaten to tear them apart. Haunted by a dormant curse from the moon goddess, Lysandra must choose between running from her destiny or embracing the fire within her. Through battles, betrayals, and heartbreak, she rises from prey to huntress, proving herself as a warrior, a mate, and a leader. In the end, love is tested by blood and fire, and Lysandra becomes a legend, bound forever under the watchful eye of the moon. They told her never to wander into the woods after dark because once you hear the howl, it's already too late. But Lysandra Vale never believed in ghost stories. Until the night the shadows moved, and something with silver eyes began hunting her. Stay with me, because what happens next will unravel a love story chained in blood, betrayal, and a curse that no one saw coming. The forest was supposed to be familiar. Lysandra had walked its narrow paths since childhood, gathering herbs her grandmother swore kept away spirits. But tonight, everything felt wrong. The silence pressed in like a weight, and even the crickets had gone mute. Her lantern flickered as if the air itself tried to snuff it out. Then she heard it, low, guttural, primal. A growl that didn't belong to any wolf she'd ever known. Her breath caught. The bushes shuddered, and glowing silver eyes appeared in the dark. The beast stepped forward, massive, fur black as midnight, fangs glistening with hunger. Lysandra ran. Branches whipped her face, roots clawed her feet, but the sound of claws pounding earth followed close behind. She stumbled, heart hammering, when suddenly the world blurred. In a flash of motion, something slammed into the wolf and threw it aside. She looked up. A man stood before her, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes that burned silver like the beast's, yet even more dangerous. His presence radiated command, raw and unyielding. The wolf growled at him but backed away, as if bowing to a superior predator. "You shouldn't be here," the man said, voice deep as thunder. He stepped closer, and Lysandra realized there was blood on his hands, not his own. Who are you?" she whispered. He tilted his head, almost amused, but his gaze never softened. "Ronan Duskbane," he said. "And you're mine now." The words sent a shiver through her chest, half fear, half something she refused to name. Her neck burned suddenly, hot and sharp, and when she touched it, her fingers came back red. She hadn't even noticed the bite until now. Her vision blurred. The ground tilted beneath her feet. She heard his voice again, low and final, before the darkness claimed her. "You've been marked." The last thing Lysandra saw before losing consciousness was his silver eyes burning through the night. But was he her savior or the beginning of her doom? Darkness wrapped around Lysandra like a drowning sea. Her last memory was the silver flame of Ronan Duskbane's eyes and the searing heat at her neck. When she stirred again, she wasn't in the forest. She lay on a heavy fur bed inside a stone-walled chamber lit by torches, their flames swaying like watchful sentinels. Her throat burned. Her pulse raced. Every sound, the drip of water, the rustle of flames, was sharper, clearer than she'd ever known. Panic rose in her chest. Then she saw him. Ronan leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, as if he had been waiting for her to wake. His presence filled the room, commanding, magnetic, dangerous. "You survived," he said simply, voice rough but certain, as though he'd expected nothing less. What did you do to me?" Lysandra's voice trembled. Her hand shot to her neck, and she winced at the sting beneath her fingertips. The skin was raised, raw, marked. Ronan's eyes flickered, not with guilt, but with something darker. "I saved you," he said. "That wolf would have torn you apart. My mark ensures no creature will touch you again." "Your mark?" The words tasted wrong. Her chest tightened. You bit me. Ronan stepped forward, the air itself thickening with his nearness. Not just a bite, a bond. You carry my mark now, my blood, my strength, my claim. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Claim? I never asked for this. A shadow of a smirk tugged at his lips. The moon decides, not you, not me. You were chosen. Lysandra pushed off the bed, stumbling back until her shoulders hit the cold stone wall. Her body betrayed her, every nerve on fire, drawn to him even as her mind screamed to flee. Chosen? I don't even know you. You will, he said softly. But there was steel beneath it. And whether you accept it or not, the bond is sealed. Your scent already carries me. Every wolf in these woods will know you're mine. His words twisted inside her, a chain she couldn't see but could already feel tightening around her soul. She clenched her fists, forcing courage into her shaking voice. If you think I'll be your prisoner, you're wrong. Something flashed in his gaze, amusement. Admiration? He tilted his head, silver eyes glinting in the torchlight. We'll see how long you can resist, Lysandra Vale. Before she could speak again, the chamber door crashed open. A tall, sharp-eyed man strode in dark hair, a cruel smile. He looked between them, his gaze settling on Lysandra with unsettling interest. Ronan, he drawled, voice dripping with mockery. You've been busy, a human girl, or is she more than that? Ronan's jaw tensed. Leave, Thorn. But Thorn only smirked wider. Not until I know why you've brought prey into our den. Lysandra's stomach sank. The mark at her neck throbbed like fire, and she realized with chilling clarity that she wasn't just bound, she was now at the center of a secret she didn't understand. Thorn's eyes lingered on her neck, and his smile sharpened. So it's true. You've marked her. Do you have any idea what you've done? Thorn's smirk lingered in the torchlight, his sharp gaze fixed on the angry red mark on Lysandra's neck. So it's true, he said slowly, savoring each word. You've bound her. Do you have any idea what that means, Ronan? Ronan's jaw tightened, the faintest growl rumbling in his chest. It means she's under my protection. That's all you need to know. Protection? Thorn chuckled darkly, circling Lysandra as though she were prey on display. No. It means every wolf within 100 miles will scent her blood. They'll come for her, and for you. Lysandra pressed her back to the wall, her breath ragged. Confusion swirled through her. Why would his bite paint a target on her? She hadn't asked for this bond, and yet it seemed to have consequences she couldn't even begin to understand. Ronan stepped between them in an instant, forcing Thorn to halt. Enough. His voice was a blade of ice. She is mine, and any wolf who touches her will answer to me. The silence crackled with threat. Thorn's smile faded, but his eyes still gleamed with mischief. Then I'll pray your little human survives the storm you've unleashed. With that, he turned on his heel and left, the heavy door slamming shut behind him. Lysandra's knees threatened to give way. Her fingers trembled as she pressed them against her burning mark. What did he mean? She whispered. Why would anyone come for me? For the first time, Ronan hesitated. His silver eyes softened, but only slightly. There are old prophecies, whispers of bloodlines touched by the moon herself. Wolves and humans both have hunted such lines for centuries. Her heart thudded. And you think, I'm one of them? Ronan studied her face as though searching for answers hidden in her eyes. The moment I tasted your blood, I knew it wasn't ordinary. There is something in you, Lysandra, something rare, something dangerous. Panic clawed up her throat. She stumbled back from him, shaking her head. No, you're wrong. I'm just a girl. I've never had power. Never. A memory struck her suddenly, sharp and unwelcome. Her grandmother's voice on a hushed night, whispering words she was never meant to hear. Our blood carries the moon's shadow. Protect it. Hide it, or they'll come. Her chest tightened. She remembered the talisman her mother always made her wear, the herbs burned in the corners of their home, the way her father never let her walk the woods alone after dark. All those strange rules, all the secrets. Her breath caught. My family. They knew. Ronan stepped closer, eyes narrowing. Then it's time you ask them why. Before she could reply, the heavy door banged again. This time it wasn't Thorn. It was a messenger wolf, his face pale with fear. Alpha, he panted. The Vale family. They've been taken. The rival pack struck at dawn. Lysandra's world shattered. Her family gone. Her secret exposed. The room spun, and dread flooded her veins like poison. Ronan's gaze locked on hers, steel and fire blazing in his voice. They're after your bloodline, Lysandra, and if we don't reach them first, you may already be too late. Ronan's words hung in the air like a death sentence. They're after your bloodline, Lysandra, and if we don't reach them first, you may already be too late. Her chest heaved, grief and panic twisting inside her. No, she whispered. My family, they can't be gone. They can't. Ronan's hand closed firmly around her wrist, steady but unyielding. Listen to me. They've been targeted because of you. That mark on your neck ties you to me, but your blood ties you to something older, something others will kill to claim. If we don't act, you'll be next. Lysandra ripped her hand free, fury flashing through the fear. So what then? I'm just some cursed prize in a game I never asked to play? His silver eyes burned. He stepped closer, towering over her until the shadows of his presence swallowed her whole. You're not a prize. You're my fated mate. The word struck harder than any blade. Her heart stumbled, racing in her chest. Mate? She echoed, choking on the sound. Ronan's voice was steady, absolute. The moon's mark chose you for me. That bite wasn't chance, it was destiny. I felt it the moment our blood bound. You're mine, Lysandra Vale, and nothing, no pack, no curse, no prophecy can take you from me. She shook her head, pressing her palms against the stone wall as though she could melt into it, away from him. You can't just decide that. I don't even know you, Ronan. All I know is you've dragged me into a nightmare. His gaze softened, but only slightly. And yet, even now, your body answers mine. Don't deny it. You feel the pull as much as I do. Heat seared through her veins, traitorous and undeniable. Every time he stepped closer, her pulse stumbled. Every time his voice dropped low, her skin shivered. But she clenched her fists, forcing herself to glare back at him. That's not love. It's a curse. Ronan's jaw tightened. Call it what you will, but fate doesn't care for your denial. The chamber door creaked. Thorn appeared again, leaning casually against the frame, smirk cutting across his face. So it's true. The Alpha finally admits it, he's bound himself to a human. His eyes flicked to Lysandra. Or should I say, to the moon's chosen blood. Leave us, Ronan snapped, his voice edged with lethal promise. But Thorn only laughed, retreating with mockery dripping from every step. Lysandra's knees trembled. She wanted to scream, to run, to tear this invisible chain from her neck. But Ronan was suddenly before her again, his hand lifting to brush her jaw with surprising gentleness. You can hate me, he murmured, silver eyes glowing like molten steel. You can fight me every step. But the truth remains you are mine, and I will protect what is mine, even if it kills me. Her lips parted, 1,000 protests fighting to escape, but the sound that filled the chamber wasn't her voice. It was the long, mournful howl of a wolf, echoing through the night closer than it should have been. Ronan's head snapped toward the sound, his eyes darkening. They've come for you. The howl lingered in the air, sharp and mournful, but threaded with something darker, a signal. Ronan's body tensed instantly, his silver eyes flashing as he moved toward the door. Stay here, he ordered, his voice low and dangerous. Lysandra's heart thundered. You expect me to sit still while something out there is hunting me? Ronan glanced back, and for a heartbeat, she saw the beast beneath the man. If you run, they'll find you in seconds. If you fight, you'll die. So yes, stay. The torches flickered as another howl rose, answered by 3 more in the distance. Shadows shifted beyond the chamber walls. Wolves were circling. Suddenly, the heavy doors burst open. A guard stumbled in, blood running down his arm. Alpha! They've breached the southern gates, Ronan growled, the sound rumbling like an earthquake. The Iron Fangs. His fists clenched. Of course they'd come now. Lysandra's skin prickled. She had heard whispers of the Iron Fang pack, ruthless, merciless, their alpha hungry for blood and dominion. Seal the inner chambers, Ronan commanded. No one touches her. The guard nodded, but before he could leave, a blur of motion slammed into him from behind. Claws tore, teeth snapped, and in an instant he was dragged to the floor, lifeless. A wolf, massive and gray-furred, lifted its head, blood dripping from its fangs. Behind it, more shadows stormed the chamber. The Iron Fangs had already infiltrated the stronghold. Lysandra's scream caught in her throat. She stumbled back as Ronan leapt forward, his body shifting mid-stride, bones cracking, flesh twisting. In seconds, the man was gone, replaced by a towering black wolf, eyes blazing silver. He hit the gray wolf with bone-shattering force, the clash of fangs and claws echoing like thunder. The chamber erupted into chaos. Wolves lunged through the doorway, snarling, their eyes glinting with savage hunger. And then Lysandra saw him. Thorn. He stood in the shadows just beyond the threshold, unharmed, calm, watching. His lips curved in a knowing smile as the Iron Fangs poured in around him. Her blood froze. Thorn, she whispered, realization striking her like lightning. It's you. You let them in. His gaze met hers, cold and unrepentant. The Nightfang pack was doomed the moment he marked you, he said evenly. I'm only accelerating the inevitable. Ronan tore another wolf apart, his black fur slick with blood, but Lysandra couldn't look away from Thorn. The betrayal burned hotter than fear. Why? Her voice cracked, but she forced the word out. Thorn's smirk widened. Because he was never meant to lead. And you, moon-touched marked, you are the key to power he doesn't deserve. Another wolf lunged toward Lysandra. She shrieked, throwing her arms up in useless defense, but before fangs could pierce her flesh, Ronan's massive body crashed between them. His claws ripped the attacker apart, but his side bore fresh wounds, blood spilling across the stone floor. The fight raged, but the chamber was filling with enemies. There were too many. Ronan shifted back, blood dripping from deep gashes, and seized Lysandra's hand. His voice was raw, urgent. If we stay, we die. Trust me now. And behind them, Thorn's voice cut like poison through the din. Run, little Alpha. Run while you still can. Ronan's grip on her hand was like iron as he pulled her through the blood-slick corridors of the fortress. Behind them, wolves clashed and howled, the air thick with the stench of steel and death. Thorn's mocking voice still echoed in Lysandra's ears, taunting, poisonous. Run, little Alpha. Run while you still can. Her chest heaved as she struggled to keep pace, bare feet slipping against stone. Ronan, he betrayed you, she gasped. You're Beta. He let them in. Not now. Ronan snarled, his voice rough and raw. Blood dripped from claw marks across his chest, but his stride never faltered. We survive first. Questions later. The walls shook with distant impacts, screams tearing through the fortress. Ronan pushed her through a narrow passage, shoving the heavy door closed behind them. Darkness swallowed them whole, the only sound their ragged breaths. Lysandra pressed her back to the cold stone, her heart thundering. I saw him. Thorn was with them. He didn't even try to hide it. Ronan's silver eyes gleamed faintly in the dark, hard and unyielding. I've known Thorn since I was a boy. He's fought beside me in every battle, saved my life more times than I can count. Then why was he smiling while his wolves slaughtered yours? Lysandra shot back, her voice sharper than she intended. Fear and fury tangled inside her chest. You're blind if you don't see it. Ronan stiffened. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Finally he spoke, his voice low. If Thorn betrayed me, then the Nightfang pack is already fractured beyond repair. The admission sent a chill through Lysandra. She wanted to argue, to scream that the betrayal was obvious, but the weight in his tone silenced her. A distant howl pierced the silence. Closer now. Ronan cursed under his breath. They're hunting us through the tunnels. He seized her hand again, pulling her deeper into the twisting stone halls. The passage opened into a hidden chamber lined with ancient carvings, wolves beneath a blazing moon, blood pooling at their feet. Lysandra's gaze caught on the symbols. They pulsed faintly, as though alive. Her breath hitched. What is this place? Ronan's expression darkened. The oldest part of the fortress. Few know it exists. His jaw clenched. And fewer still should. But before she could press him, the faintest whisper curled through the chamber, carried on the draft like a ghost's breath. He cannot protect you. He cannot protect himself. Lysandra froze. The voice was soft, almost feminine but laced with venom. She spun, but no one was there, only shadows and the cold gaze of stone wolves. Did you hear that? She whispered. Ronan's eyes narrowed. What did it say? She swallowed hard. That you can't protect me. Or yourself. He scanned the chamber, every muscle taut. It's a trick. The Iron Fangs are trying to break you. But deep down, Lysandra wasn't sure. The words had carried too much weight, too much truth. Her hand drifted to the burning mark at her neck. Bound to him. Hunted for her bloodline. Surrounded by betrayal. She could feel the chains of fate tightening around her throat. And then, from the shadows, a familiar figure stepped forward. Thorn called her himself, his smile as sharp as a blade. Well, well, he murmured. Looks like fate has already done my work for me. Thorn's smile gleamed in the dim light of the chamber, cruel and triumphant. You've always been too trusting, Ronan. Too blind to see the knife pressed against your own back. Ronan's claws extended with a metallic scrape, his body shifting toward his wolf as fury vibrated through the air. You dare step foot in this chamber? His voice was thunder, his silver eyes burning. Thorn chuckled darkly, unbothered. I dare because it's mine by right. You were never strong enough to hold this pack together, and now the Iron Fangs know the truth. The Night Fangs will eat themselves alive, and I'll rule what's left. Lysandra's breath caught. Thorn's gaze slid to her, sharp and possessive, and a chill ran down her spine. And you, he whispered, voice dripping with hunger. The marked girl. Do you even know why every rival pack wants your blood? Enough! Ronan lunged, forcing Thorn back. Their clash was brutal, claws raking stone, fists shattering against flesh. Lysandra stumbled against the wall, heart pounding, powerless to stop the storm. But just as suddenly as it began, Thorn retreated, slipping into the shadows with a mocking bow. Enjoy your prize while you can, Alpha. The mark will destroy her before you claim her. His laughter echoed as he vanished, leaving the chamber colder, emptier. Silence fell. Ronan stood, chest heaving, blood streaking his arms. His eyes met Lysandra's, no longer silver fire but raw, wounded steel. For the first time, she saw not just the Alpha but the man beneath, fractured by betrayal. Something inside her cracked. Against all reason, against the storm outside, she stepped closer. Ronan. He turned away, fists clenched. You shouldn't have seen that. You shouldn't be here. But she didn't stop. Her hand brushed his arm, warm against the chill of his skin. His breath stuttered, ragged, as though her touch burned him. You saved me, she whispered. Even when everything is crumbling, you chose me. His control wavered. Slowly, he faced her, and the air between them tightened like a bowstring. Silver eyes locked with hers, and the bond pulsed hot and undeniable. "Lysandra," he rasped, her name breaking on his lips like a prayer and a curse all at once. And then his mouth was on hers, fierce, consuming, as if the world itself were ending and only this kiss could hold it together. Her body melted against his, the mark at her neck burning brighter, binding them deeper. The kiss was forbidden, dangerous, yet irresistible. When they finally tore apart, breathless, the silence between them was charged. Lysandra's lips trembled. What happens now? Ronan's gaze darkened, fierce and tender all at once. Now, nothing will ever be the same. Before she could answer, the chamber shook violently, dust raining from the ceiling. From deep within the fortress came a howl so powerful it rattled her bones, ancient, primal, and filled with hunger. And Lysandra knew with dread certainty, something far older than Thorn had just awoken. The howl ripped through the chamber again, so deep it vibrated through Lysandra's bones. Ronan pulled her behind him, claws half extended, his senses sharpened to a razor's edge. "That isn't Thorn," he growled, scanning the trembling stone walls. "That's something older, something bound beneath this fortress." Lysandra clutched the mark on her neck, the burn intensifying with every echo. She felt it calling to her, whispering in her veins like a voice she had never wanted to hear. Before Ronan could move them to safety, a familiar voice pierced the shadows. "Lysandra?" Her heart stuttered. Out from a side passage stepped Selena Marrow, her childhood friend, her sister, in all but blood. "Selena!" Lysandra gasped, rushing forward, relief flooding her chest. "You're alive. I thought the Iron Fangs had—" Celine's smile was soft, too soft. "They didn't touch me. They spared me." Ronan's eyes narrowed immediately. "Why?" Selene ignored him, her gaze fixed only on Lysandra. "I came because you're in danger. The mark, Ronan's bond, it's a curse. If you stay with him, it will consume you." Lysandra froze. "A curse?" Selene nodded, stepping closer, her dark hair shadowing her face. "Don't you feel it? The burning, the pull. That isn't fate, Lysandra. It's chains. Chains that will bind you until there's nothing left." Her words slithered into Lysandra's heart, feeding the fear she'd buried since that night in the woods. She turned toward Ronan, searching his face for denial, for truth, but his silence was a knife. "Selene, how do you know this?" Lysandra whispered. That's when she saw it, the faint crescent scar on Selena's wrist, the same symbol etched into the chamber walls. Recognition struck like lightning. "You're with them," Ronan said, his voice low, lethal. "You've betrayed her." Selene's mask cracked, a glimmer of guilt flashing across her face, but she lifted her chin, voice steady. "I did what I had to do. The Iron Fangs promised protection for both of us. You don't understand, Lysandra. They don't want to kill you. They want to free you." "Free me?" Lysandra echoed, her voice breaking. "Yes," Selene urged, reaching out. "From him, from the mark, from the bloodline that's doomed you since birth. You deserve a choice." Ronan's snarl echoed through the chamber. "She is my choice, and she chose me." His claws gleamed, ready to strike. Tears burned Lysandra's eyes as she looked between them, the friend she had loved like a sister, and the Alpha who had claimed her heart in fire and blood. Trust splintered inside her chest, every shard cutting deeper. "Selene, how could you?" she whispered. Selene's eyes shimmered with sorrow. "Because I love you enough to save you, even if it means standing against you." The chamber shook again, the ancient howl rising from beneath their feet, louder, hungrier. Dust rained down. The carvings on the walls glowed faintly, pulsing with blood-red light. And then the floor cracked open between them, splitting stone like glass. From the chasm rose a claw, massive, ancient, dripping with shadows. The beast beneath the fortress was waking, and Lysandra realized Seleni's betrayal was only the beginning. The claw dragged itself free of the fissure with a screech that split stone. Shadows coiled around it like living smoke, and a howl so ancient it seemed to tear the air apart rumbled from the depths below. Lysandra staggered back, her chest heaving. Her mark burned hotter than fire, searing through her skin as though answering the beast's call. "Stay behind me," Ronan growled, planting himself between her and the widening crack. His claws gleamed, his wolf straining against the edges of his human form. But Selena's eyes lit with something close to reverence. "It's true," she whispered, almost in awe. "The chains are breaking. She's waking it." Lysandra choked. Her heart hammered as the markings on the walls glowed brighter, bathing the chamber in an eerie crimson. From the shadows beneath came a voice, ancient, feminine, commanding. It resonated in Lysandra's bones, threading through her veins. "Daughter of my blood, you cannot hide from me." Her knees buckled and she clutched her head, the voice reverberating inside her skull. Images flashed, wolves bowing under a blood-red moon, chains snapping, rivers running dark with crimson. Ronan caught her before she fell. "Lysandra, look at me." But she couldn't. The visions clawed deeper, showing her the truth she'd never known. Her blood was not ordinary. It carried the dormant curse of the moon goddess herself, the first wolf, the one who had bound all others to her will before being entombed beneath the earth. Selene's voice cut through the haze. "Now you see it. Why every pack wants you. Why they fear you. You're not just marked by Ronan, you are the mark, the moon goddess's vessel." "No," Lysandra gasped, her throat raw. "That's not me. It can't be me." Ronan's grip tightened, his silver eyes blazing with defiance. "I don't care what's in your blood. You're mine, curse or no curse." But even as he said it, the bond mark seared with unbearable heat. Her skin cracked with glowing lines, silver and red spiraling from the bite toward her collarbone. She screamed, the sound raw and unearthly. The beast surged higher from the chasm, its monstrous head crowned with a halo of shadow, eyes like molten moons locked on her, and the voice thundered again. "Through you, I rise. Through you, the chains are broken." Ronan dragged her backward, but the force in her veins resisted, pulling her toward the beast as if tethered. Selene reached out, desperate. "Lysandra, come with me. The Iron Fangs can help you control this before it consumes you." Lysandra's heart split, torn between the Alpha who refused to let her go, and the friend who claimed to save her. But deep inside, a darker truth clawed its way free. This curse was not meant to be controlled. It was meant to be fulfilled. As the beast's maw opened, chains of shadow shot from the chasm, wrapping around her wrists and dragging her toward the abyss. Ronan roared and lunged for her, but the last thing she saw was his silver eyes fading into darkness as the moon goddess's curse claimed her. The chains yanked her down, cold and merciless, dragging Lysandra into the abyss. Shadows clawed her skin, whispering promises of power, of freedom, of surrender. She screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the dark. "Lysandra!" Ronan's roar cut through the chaos. He lunged, his claws slicing through the shadow chains. Silver light flared from his touch, forcing them to recoil. With a final surge, he wrenched her free, pulling her into his arms. But the victory lasted only a heartbeat. From the chasm, the beast rose higher, its monstrous form towering, dripping with shadows like liquid night. Its howl split the stone walls, and the chamber collapsed around them. Ronan shoved Lysandra aside as a massive claw swiped toward them. The blow connected with his chest, throwing him across the chamber. He hit the ground hard, blood spraying from his mouth. "Ronan!" Lysandra scrambled to his side, her hands trembling as she pressed them against the deep gash across his ribs. His body shook, blood soaking her fingers. His silver eyes flickered weakly, but his hand found hers, gripping with stubborn strength. "Don't. Run," he rasped. Not from me. Not from this. Tears blurred her vision. The mark at her neck throbbed in time with his faltering heartbeat. For the first time, she understood the bond was more than chains. It was life and death, breath and blood. If he fell, a part of her would shatter with him. Celine's voice cut through the smoke. Lysandra, leave him. If you stay, you'll die with him. Come with me now, and I can save you. Her oldest friend extended a trembling hand, eyes wide with urgency. Behind her, shadows parted like an open path freedom, but at a terrible cost. Lysandra's chest heaved. Her heart tore itself in two. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to survive, to escape the curse pulling her deeper into darkness. But then she looked at Ronan, broken, bleeding, yet still fighting to rise. His silver eyes burned through the pain, locked on her as though she were the only tether he had left to this world. "You are mine," he whispered hoarsely, blood staining his lips. "And I am yours. Rise, or we both fall." The beast roared again, the chamber trembling as stone rained down. Celine shouted her name, the shadows beckoning. But Lysandra's decision ignited in her chest, fierce and unshakable. She wasn't just a cursed vessel. She wasn't just a mark. She was more. Her scream split the air as the mark blazed, silver fire exploding from her veins. Chains of shadow shattered. The beast recoiled and Ronan's wounds flared with the same light. Lysandra stood tall, her body alight with the curse and the bond both, and for the first time, the moon goddess's power answered her. But with that power came a voice whispering in her mind. "Every gift has a price, child. Are you willing to pay it?" The silver fire roared through her veins, a torrent of power too vast to belong to mortal flesh. It seared her lungs, burned her skin, and yet Lysandra stood unbroken. The shadows recoiled from her brilliance, the beast shrinking back into the abyss as if blinded. Ronan, half-conscious, stirred beneath her touch. His wounds knit together before her eyes, the savage gash sealing with a hiss of silver flame. He sucked in a ragged breath, his silver eyes flickering open. For a moment, awe replaced the pain etched across his face. "You," his voice cracked, reverent. "You called the fire of the moon herself." The whisper in her mind returned, silky and cruel. "Every gift has a price, child. When the fire fades, something must be taken in return." Lysandra's heart lurched, but she shoved the voice aside. Not now. Not when Ronan needed her. "On your feet," she urged, gripping his arm. "We can't stay here." Together they rose, standing side by side as the fortress shook. From the collapsing corridors came the echo of war cries, Iron Fang warriors flooding the chamber, drawn by the glow. At their head strode Thorn, smirking through blood and shadow. So it's true. The cursed fire lives in her veins. His eyes gleamed with greedy hunger. "Do you realize what you've just done, Ronan? You've handed me the weapon I need to break every pact beneath the moon." "Over my dead body," Ronan growled, shifting partially, his claws gleaming in the firelight. But Lysandra stepped forward, fire curling around her fingertips like living flame. For the first time, she felt no fear, only fury. "No, Thorn, over yours." The Iron Fangs surged, their claws flashing, their snarls echoing off the walls. The chamber became a battlefield of fire and steel. Lysandra moved with a grace she hadn't known she possessed, silver fire arcing from her hands, searing through enemies like blades of moonlight. Ronan fought at her side, his power amplified by the bond, every strike landing with brutal precision. Yet the fire drained her with every burst, gnawing at her strength, whispering of the price yet unpaid. Her vision blurred, her heartbeat staggering. Ronan noticed, his jaw tightening as he shielded her from a strike meant for her throat. "Don't burn yourself out," he warned, blood on his lips. "Not for them." But Lysandra shook her head, the fire blazing brighter. "Not for them. For us." Together they carved a path through the Iron Fangs, a storm of claw and flame, Alpha and cursed vessel bound as one. For a fleeting moment, victory seemed within reach. Then a sharp cry split the battle. Selene emerged from the shadows, her dagger pressed to the throat of one of Ronan's loyal wolves. Her eyes locked on Lysandra's, glistening with both pain and resolve. "Stop, or he dies," Selene shouted. "You think you can control the fire, but it will consume you. Let me end this before it's too late." Lysandra's flame flickered, her body trembling as the last of her strength wavered. Ronan snarled, ready to tear Selene apart, but his gaze shifted to Lysandra, pleading. It wasn't just a choice of battle, it was a choice of trust. Will Lysandra yield to Selene's warning, or burn everything to protect Ronan's pack? Stay with this story, because the choices she makes here will change her fate forever. The silver fire surged wildly, beyond her control. Selene's eyes widened as the chamber blazed white-hot, and Lysandra realized too late that the fire wasn't just attacking the Iron Fangs. It was turning on everyone. The fire erupted like a storm, silver and white flames devouring the chamber. Screams filled the air, Iron Fang and Night Fang alike, as the power lashed out blindly, refusing to obey. Lysandra staggered, her hands trembling, the fire pouring from her like a flood she couldn't dam. "No," she cried, voice breaking. "Stop. Please stop." But the fire didn't listen. It roared through the stone, searing runes into the walls, reducing bodies to ash. Ronan lunged, grabbing her wrists. The bond between them flared, silver meeting silver, but even his strength barely anchored her. "You'll kill us all," he roared, straining to hold her steady. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she thought she saw another face in the fire. The moon goddess herself. Eyes like endless galaxies, lips curved in a cruel smile. Power always demands a sacrifice, child. The flames sputtered, finally dimming, but the damage was done. Dozens of Night Fang warriors lay broken across the ground. Smoke choked the air, the scent of blood thicker than ever. Lysandra fell to her knees, shaking. Her chest heaved with sobs. "I didn't mean—" Ronan's hand cupped her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. His silver eyes were hard but not cruel. "Intent doesn't matter, Lysandra. Control does, and you're losing it." Before she could reply, a mocking clap echoed through the chamber. "Well done," Thorn drawled, stepping over the corpses as though they were nothing but stepping stones. "You've done half my work for me. I should thank you." Ronan growled, his claws bared. "You'll die for this betrayal." But Thorn only smirked. "I've already won. You just haven't realized it yet." Lysandra's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" A shift in the shadows answered her. Selene emerged, dagger still in hand, her face pale but resolute. She wouldn't meet Lysandra's eyes. "Selene," Lysandra whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't." But Selene's silence was an answer sharper than any blade. "She opened the gates," Thorn sneered. "She gave us entry, all for the promise that we'd spare you. And you still doubt where her loyalties lie?" Ronan stiffened. Betrayal carved fresh wounds deeper than claws ever could. "You've doomed us all." Selene's hands trembled, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I did it to save her," she cried. "They promised she'd live. I couldn't watch her be destroyed by your bond, Ronan. You don't understand what she carries." Lysandra's chest caved. "You were my sister," she whispered, "and you sold me." The silence that followed was heavier than the battle had been. Then, with a sharp whistle, Thorn gave the order. Iron Fang reinforcements poured into the chamber, blades gleaming, eyes blazing. Night Fang survivors, already broken and bloodied, were surrounded. Ronan pulled Lysandra behind him, his body braced for the last stand. "We fight," he growled, "even if it's the end." The Iron Fangs raised their weapons, Thorn's smile cutting like glass, and then the ground split with another ancient howl, darker and deeper than before. From the abyss, the moon goddess's beast began to climb free, and this time, there would be no chains to bind it. The chamber quaked as the beast pulled itself free from the abyss. Its body was a nightmare made flesh towering, wolf-shaped, cloaked in shadows, eyes burning like molten moons. Chains of broken light still clung to its limbs, dragging sparks across the stone. Iron fangs and night fangs alike froze. Their war cries died on their tongues, replaced with the same choking fear. Thorn's smirk faltered. No, it can't be freed. Not fully. But it was. The beast's howl shattered the ceiling, moonlight pouring through the cracks as if answering its call. With one swipe of its massive claw, soldiers, Iron Fang and Night Fang were hurled like ragdolls. Screams filled the air. Ronan grabbed Lysandra's wrist, pulling her away from the carnage. We can't fight this. Not here. Not now. But my fire, she started, the mark at her neck burning hotter. His grip tightened. You'll burn yourself alive before you bring that thing down. I won't lose you, Lysandra, not like this. Together they fled through the crumbling tunnels, the roars of the beast echoing behind them. Stone cracked, walls collapsed, but somehow they emerged into the open night. The moon hung full above them, casting its cold light over the ruined fortress. They stumbled into the tree line, gasping for breath. For the first time in what felt like forever, silence fell, save for the distant, dreadful howl that promised the beast still hunted. Ronan collapsed against a tree, blood streaking his jaw, his chest heaving. Lysandra dropped beside him, her trembling hands hovering over his wounds. You're bleeding again, she whispered. He caught her wrist gently. It's nothing. It's not nothing, she said fiercely, her voice cracking. You've nearly died for me more times than I can count. Why do you keep doing it? His silver eyes softened, raw and unguarded in the moonlight. Because you're mine, not by curse, not by fire, by choice. Her breath hitched, her heart pounding. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever seen her as more than a vessel, a curse, a burden. And yet here he was, broken and bleeding, swearing she was worth everything. Ronan, she whispered, her voice trembling with more than fear. He leaned closer, his forehead brushing hers. I don't know what this curse will demand of you, Lysandra. I don't know if I can protect you from it. But I swear on my blood I'll die before I let anyone else take you from me. Her lips trembled, her chest aching with a truth she could no longer deny. She kissed him not with desperation this time, but with certainty. Their bond flared not as chains, but as fire freely given, freely chosen. For one fragile moment, the world stilled. It was only them, bathed in silver light, bound by more than fate. But then the silence shattered. A whisper carried through the forest, cold and venomous. Lovers burn brightest before they fall. The shadows shifted, and Lysandra's eyes widened. From the tree line, cloaked figures emerged, Iron Fang loyalists, blades gleaming, every eye fixed on her. They hadn't escaped. They'd been hunted. The forest froze around them, thick with the sound of iron boots crushing leaves. One by one, the cloaked figures emerged, surrounding Ronan and Lysandra in a tightening ring. Their blades gleamed cold beneath the moonlight, each edge reflecting silver like hungry fangs. Ronan shoved Lysandra behind him, claws extending, his wolf crouched just beneath his skin. Run, he growled under his breath. Her heart pounded. And leave you? You're what they want. If you stay, neither of us makes it out alive. Before she could protest, the first loyalist lunged. Ronan met him mid-strike, steel clashing against claws. The forest erupted into chaos, shadows tearing apart under silver light. But for every enemy Ronan cut down, 3 more pressed in. Lysandra's chest burned, the mark at her neck searing hot. The whisper of the moon goddess echoed in her mind. Power always demands a sacrifice, child. Will you bleed, or will you rise? Her hand shook, then stilled. She could feel the fire waiting, the wild energy that had nearly destroyed her in the chamber. But this time, she refused to let it control her. She would control it. A loyalist broke past Ronan's guard. his blade arcing toward her throat. Instinct roared through her. Lysandra's palms ignited, silver flames erupting outward. The blade melted mid-air, the man screaming as fire consumed him. Silence fell for the briefest heartbeat. Then the others hesitated. She rose slowly, her eyes glowing with the same molten silver as her flames. For the first time, they didn't lash out wildly. They obeyed her. She spread her fingers, the fire swirling around her arms like living armor. "I'm done running," she said, her voice sharp and unshakable. The loyalists snarled and charged, but this time Lysandra didn't falter. She met them head-on, fire searing through steel, burning away cloaks and shadows. She moved like she'd trained her whole life, every strike instinctual, every burst of flame precise. At her side, Ronan fought with renewed strength, his eyes never leaving her even as he tore down enemies. "You're magnificent," he growled between blows. But it wasn't just her fire. It was something deeper, the curse and the gift entwined, answering her will instead of consuming it. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of what she was. One by one, the loyalists fell, leaving only scorched earth and broken blades behind. The survivors fled into the shadows, their whispers trailing like venom in the wind. Breathless, Lysandra lowered her hands. The flames receded, fading into sparks. Her legs trembled, but she stood tall. Ronan stepped closer, his hand brushing her cheek, pride blazing in his silver eyes. "You're not just my mate," he said. "You're a warrior." Her chest swelled, a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. She wasn't the same girl who had stumbled into the forest days ago. She was changing, becoming something more, something terrifying, something necessary. But even as warmth bloomed between them, the night carried a warning. The beast's howl rolled through the mountains again, deeper and closer than before. And when the echo faded, another sound replaced it. The clear, cruel laugh of Thorn. His voice carried across the trees. "Train all you want, Huntress. In the end, you'll burn everything you love." From the shadows, his eyes glowed red. Watching, waiting, the forest was silent after Thorn's voice faded, but his words lingered like poison in the air. "In the end, you'll burn everything you love." Ronan's hand remained on Lysandra's shoulder, steady, grounding, but his jaw clenched, and his silver eyes darkened with something she hadn't seen in him before. Doubt. "Don't listen to him," she said quickly, her voice trembling as much from fear as from exhaustion. "He's trying to divide us." But Ronan didn't answer. His gaze roamed over the scorched clearing, over the ash and melted steel. The bodies of those she'd burned lay twisted in the moonlight, smoke still rising from their charred armor. "You controlled it," he said finally, his voice low. "But for how long?" Her chest tightened. "You think I meant to hurt them? They came to kill us." "I know," he said, but the words sounded hollow. He dragged a hand through his hair, pacing like a caged wolf. "Every time your power grows, it takes more out of you and more out of me. That mark ties us. If you lose yourself, I lose myself too." His doubt cut deeper than any blade. Before she could respond, movement flickered at the edge of the trees. A wounded Nightfang staggered into view, his body scorched, his voice hoarse. "Alpha." It was her. He pointed at Lysandra, his hand trembling. She opened the way. She let them in. Lysandra froze. "What? No!" But the soldier collapsed before he could explain more. Ronan's eyes narrowed. The memory of Seleni's betrayal still lingered in his mind, and now another accusation hung in the air. "Why would he say that?" he demanded. "I don't know," Lysandra's voice broke. "You know I would never." "Do I?" His tone sharpened, the alpha rising in him. "Selene betrayed us for you. Thorn claims you'll destroy everything, and now my own men whisper you're the reason we bleed." He stepped closer, his eyes flashing silver. "Tell me, Lysandra, should I trust you? Or am I a fool who's already lost?" Her throat closed. The bond between them throbbed painfully, her mark burning as though it sensed the fracture. She wanted to scream that she loved him, that she would never betray him, but the words tangled with the curse inside her, with the visions of the moon goddess who whispered of sacrifice. The horizon shifted, pale light bleeding into the trees. Dawn was rising, chasing shadows but also revealing them. Lysandra held his gaze, her voice barely a whisper. "If you can't trust me, then kill me now, because I'll never betray you, Ronan. Not by choice." Silence stretched. His hand twitched at his side, claws half bared, but he didn't strike. Instead, he turned away, his voice rough. "I can't lose you, but I can't lose my pack either." As the first rays of sunlight pierced the forest, a horn sounded in the distance, low, mournful, and ominous. The Iron Fang were marching again, and this time, they weren't hunting the Night Fang alone. They were hunting the Hunter. The horn's cry rolled through the forest, deep and unrelenting, like the heartbeat of doom itself. The ground trembled with the march of hundreds of feet. Iron Fang. Their war had come at last. Ronan stiffened, every muscle taut with instinct. His claws lengthened, his eyes flashing silver as he looked to the horizon. Through the thinning trees, the Iron Fang banners emerged, black wolves painted in crimson, their army stretching farther than the eye could see. Behind them, the Night Fang survivors stumbled into the clearing, battered and weary from endless skirmishes. At the sight of their enemies, growls erupted in unison, raw and guttural. The war of packs had begun. Ronan turned to his warriors, his voice booming like thunder. "Night Fang, this is our land. Our blood runs in these woods, and no Iron Fang will take it from us. Fight with me, or die with honor." A roar answered him, fierce and unbroken, though shadows of fear lingered in every throat. Lysandra's chest tightened as she scanned the battlefield. The Iron Fang outnumbered them 3-1, and Thorn stood at the front, his crimson cloak snapping in the morning wind. His eyes met hers across the distance, gleaming with malice. He lifted his blade and pointed it straight at her. "She's the key," Thorn bellowed to his warriors. "Bring me the Huntress, and victory is ours." Ronan snarled, pulling Lysandra close. "Stay behind me." But she shook her head, her silver flames already sparking at her fingertips. "No. If they want me, they'll bleed for it." The armies collided. The forest erupted into chaos, claws against steel, howls piercing the sky, blood soaking the earth. Night Fang and Iron Fang tore into each other with savage fury. The air stank of sweat and iron, of fire and death. Lysandra unleashed her flames, weaving between the Night Fang warriors, her power cutting swaths through the Iron Fang ranks. For every enemy she burned, though, more pressed in. The curse pulsed within her, whispering, "More. More." Ronan fought like the storm itself, tearing through Iron Fang with claws and fangs, his voice carrying above the fray as he shouted commands. Yet even his strength faltered against the tide. For every loyalist that fell, 2 more rose in their place. The beast's howl echoed again, deeper and closer than before, as though it fed on the carnage. The ground shook, trees splitting, shadows thickening. In the chaos, Thorn cut his way toward them, his blade dripping crimson, his grin sharp. He wasn't just killing, he was hunting. For her. Ronan saw him coming and braced, his eyes burning with murder. "Stay back, Lysandra." But she couldn't. Not this time. She stepped forward, fire blazing across her arms, her voice rising above the battlefield. "I'm not your prey, Thorn. I'm your end." As the 2 forces clashed around them, Thorn raised his blade in challenge, and the Iron Fang fell back, forming a ring. It was no longer pack against pack. It was Lysandra and Ronan against Thorn, with the war itself watching to see who would bleed first. The battlefield stilled. Night Fang and Iron Fang warriors alike formed a wide ring, their snarls silenced by the weight of what was about to unfold. In the center, Ronan and Thorn faced one another, alpha against beta turned traitor. One fought for his pack, the other for power. Ronan's voice cut through the tension. "This ends tonight, Thorn." Thorn smirked, twirling his blood-stained blade. Oh, it will. But not the way you think. The clash was immediate, violent. Claw met steel, spark met shadow. Ronan struck with raw fury, his wolf surging beneath his skin, each blow shaking the earth. Thorn countered with precision, every movement calculated, his blade a serpent seeking a fatal opening. Lysandra stood at the edge of the ring, fire trembling at her fingertips, her throat dry. She could feel the pack's eyes on her, feel the bond throbbing at her neck. This fight was not just about survival, it was about dominance. Whoever won would claim more than victory, they would claim everything. Ronan roared, driving Thorn to his knees, claws raking across his chest. Blood spilled, and for a moment it seemed the Nightfang Alpha would prevail. But Thorn laughed through the pain, his grin feral. You still don't see it, do you? The curse doesn't belong to her, it belongs to me. Before Ronan could react, Thorn's blade flashed. Silver steel carved through Ronan's side, searing against his flesh. The Alpha staggered, his roar turning into a choking snarl. No! Lysandra screamed, flames erupting around her. The Nightfang warriors surged forward, but Ironfang soldiers held them back with a wall of steel. The duel remained unbroken. Ronan fought on, blood soaking his side, but his strikes slowed. Thorn circled him like a predator, savoring the moment. Then with brutal force, he slammed the hilt of his blade into Ronan's skull. The Alpha crumpled to the ground. Gasps rippled through the circle. Nightfang wolves howled in fury, but their Alpha lay broken in the dirt. Thorn planted his boot on Ronan's chest, pressing him into the earth. The Alpha falls, he declared, his voice carrying across the battlefield. And with him, his pack. The Ironfang roared their approval. The Nightfang's cries fractured into fear. Lysandra's knees buckled, the bond screaming inside her. She could feel Ronan's pain as if it were her own, every breath shallow, every heartbeat fading. She wanted to rush to him, to tear Thorn apart with her flames, but something stopped her. The eyes of the pack. Every single Nightfang warrior was watching her, waiting. In that moment she understood. With Ronan down, their survival depended not on him but on her. Her flames rose brighter than ever, casting long shadows across the battlefield. She stepped into the ring, her voice steady though her heart trembled. The Alpha falls, but the Huntress rises. The Nightfang howled, their despair shifting into something new, fierce, unyielding hope. Thorn's smile faltered, but before Lysandra could move, Ironfang chains snapped around Ronan's wrists and throat, glowing with runes that suppressed his wolf. He was dragged to his knees, bound and helpless. Thorn's blade pressed to his throat as he sneered at her. If you want him alive, Huntress, you'll have to surrender. Show me if you're a warrior, or just a curse waiting to burn. The battlefield pulsed with silence, every wolf's breath caught in their throat. Ronan knelt in the dirt, chains glowing faintly with runes that burned his skin. Thorn's blade hovered at his throat, a cruel smile tugging at his lips. Surrender, Thorn taunted, pressing the edge closer, and maybe I'll let him live long enough to watch you kneel. The bond seared through Lysandra, each pulse of Ronan's pain tearing into her own chest. Her fire blazed uncontrollably, swirling around her like a storm. But she didn't move, not yet. The pack's eyes were on her, Ironfang and Nightfang alike, waiting to see if she would bow or rise. Her voice rang out, steadier than she felt. I won't surrender. Not to you. Not to anyone. Thorn sneered. Then burn, little Huntress. He drove the blade downward, and the world shattered into silver light. Lysandra gasped as the battlefield dissolved around her. She stood alone in a vast expanse beneath a sky filled with stars, the full moon hanging so close it seemed she could touch it. The air was thick with power, heavy enough to steal her breath. A voice like thunder and silk echoed through the void. At last, the cursed child comes before me. The moon goddess stepped from the shadows, her form radiant and terrible. Her hair shimmered like starlight, her eyes fathomless voids. Power bled from her every movement, and Lysandra fell to her knees under its weight. Why am I here? Lysandra whispered, trembling. The goddess circled her, gaze sharp and merciless. Because the bond of Alpha and Huntress has tipped the scales. You carry fire not meant for mortals. You are both gift and curse, child. And now, judgment must be passed. The ground beneath Lysandra split open, shadows writhing, forming monstrous wolves with eyes of flame. Their snarls vibrated through her bones. Face your curse, the goddess decreed. Defeat it, or let it consume you. There is no other path. The beasts lunged. Lysandra ignited, silver fire roaring from her hands, but the shadows didn't burn, they fed on her flames, growing stronger. Their teeth snapped inches from her throat and terror clawed through her. I can't, she cried, stumbling backward. It's too much, I'll never control it. The goddess's voice cut like steel. Power demands a choice. Do you wield it, or does it wield you? Ronan's face flashed in her mind, bleeding, bound but unbroken. His words echoed. You're not just my mate. You're a warrior. Her fear twisted into something sharper. She wasn't fire's prisoner. She was its master. Lysandra drew in a ragged breath, then spread her arms wide. Instead of fighting the fire, she let it flood her veins, not as destruction, but as strength. Her flames blazed brighter, no longer wild, no longer hungry. They were hers. When the shadows lunged again, she met them head-on. The silver fire carved through their forms, not consumed, but purified, until nothing remained but ash and starlight. The goddess watched, unreadable. Then, for the first time, her lips curved. So the Huntress chooses to rise. The void shattered. Lysandra gasped as the battlefield snapped back around her. Thorn's blade was still at Ronan's throat, but now her fire burned steady, fierce and utterly controlled. She stood taller, her eyes blazing like molten moons. The chains binding Ronan cracked under the force of her flames, but before she could free him fully, the sky split with lightning. The moon goddess's voice boomed across the battlefield for all to hear. The Huntress has been judged. Now the world shall see if she is salvation or ruin. The sky blazed silver as lightning tore across the heavens. The moon goddess's decree still echoed in every ear. Now the world shall see if she is salvation or ruin. The battlefield erupted once more. Ironfang and Nightfang warriors, already drenched in blood, surged into fresh violence. The air quaked with howls, steel, and fire. Lysandra stood in the center, her flames wrapping her like living armor. Every eye turned to her, not as a cursed girl, but as a force neither pack could ignore. Her power pulsed with terrifying clarity, burning steady rather than wild. She was no longer prey, she was the Huntress. Ronan, still chained, growled in pain, but his eyes never left her. Lysandra, he roared over the chaos. End this, before the war swallows us all. Thorn answered with a laugh, his blade dripping crimson. End it, she is the war. Look at her, Alpha, fire wrapped in flesh. When she burns out, there'll be nothing left for you to rule. The taunt ignited her fury. Lysandra's flames surged, blasting the Ironfang soldiers who dared approach. The earth shook beneath her steps as she strode toward Thorn, fire cutting a path. But with every burst of power, the bond at her neck throbbed painfully. The goddess's judgment wasn't just a trial. It was a tether, drawing more and more from her life. Every strike cost her, every flame burned not just her enemies, but herself. Still, she pressed forward. She had to. For Ronan. For her pack. Thorn met her head-on. His blade sang as it clashed with her fire, steel glowing red from the heat. They circled, predator and prey shifting with every heartbeat. You'll never win, Thorn hissed. The goddess made you a weapon, not a leader. And weapons always break. Lysandra's voice cut sharp. Then I'll break you first. Their duel raged, sparks and embers flying. Ronan strained against his chains, the runes glowing as they fought to keep him bound. The Nightfang warriors tried to reach him, but Ironfang blades held them back. The ground was littered with blood. The air burned with ash. Every strike Lysandra made brought her closer to victory, yet also closer to collapse. Her veins screamed, her fire threatening to consume her from within. At last, she forced Thorn back, her flames wrapping around his body like a vice. His blade fell, melted to nothing. She stood over him, chest heaving, fire burning in her palms. One strike, and it would be done. Behind her, Ronan's voice carried across the battlefield, ragged but clear. "Lysandra, don't lose yourself." She froze. The curse whispered sweetly, "Burn him. End it. Prove your strength." But her heart thundered louder. She wasn't fire's slave. She wasn't the goddess's pawn. She was Huntress, warrior, mate, and her power was hers to wield, not to obey. Trembling, she lowered her flames. "No," she said, voice shaking but resolute. "I choose who I burn." The Nightfang roared, their faith reignited. Even Ironfang eyes widened in fear, but before Lysandra could strike the final blow, the sky split again. A massive shadow descended the moon goddess's beast, freed fully from its chains at last. Its roar silenced the battlefield as both packs fell still, and this time, its burning gaze fixed not on Ronan, not on Thorn, but on her. The battlefield fell silent as the moon goddess's beast descended, wings blotting out the stars. Its eyes glowed like molten silver, fixed on Lysandra. Every breath it drew rattled the ground. Every flicker of its aura pressed down like a mountain. The curse writhed inside her, clawing, screaming. This was the final trial, the choice that would either shatter her or make her eternal. Ronan's voice, hoarse but fierce, cut through the silence. "Lysandra, you don't fight alone." He strained against his chains until his wrists bled, his wolf clawing for release, but the goddess's voice thundered across the night. "You are mine, Huntress. The fire is my gift, the curse my chain. Burn them all and ascend or resist and perish." For a heartbeat, Lysandra faltered. The weight of destiny, the hunger of fire, the roar of the beast, it all pressed against her soul. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw Celine's lifeless form, Thorn's broken blade, and her pack. Bloody, but still fighting for her. A single truth crystallized in her heart. She wasn't just fire. She wasn't just curse. She was choice. Her flames blazed brighter, not wild but controlled, wrapping her in golden light. The beast lunged, but Lysandra met it head-on, fire against silver, her roar echoing like thunder. Sparks rained as their powers clashed, ripping the battlefield open. The Ironfang warriors cowered. The Nightfang howled. Ronan's eyes shone with pride, even as blood streaked his jaw. Step by step, Lysandra forced the beast back, her fire devouring the curse that once bound her. With a scream that shook heaven and earth, she thrust her flames into its chest. The beast wailed, shattering into silver shards that rained down like starlight. The battlefield froze. The curse in her veins sizzled, then dissolved. The fire no longer burned her, it flowed with her as natural as breath. The moon goddess's voice softened, reverent. "You have broken the chain, Huntress. No longer cursed, but chosen. Bound not by fire, but by love." The runes binding Ronan shattered. He staggered forward, bloodied yet unbowed, and caught her before she fell. Their eyes locked, raw and unguarded. "Lysandra," he whispered, voice breaking. "You're not just my mate. You're my moon, my fire, my forever." And before the watching packs under the rain of silver light, their lips met, not forbidden, not cursed, but eternal. A hush fell. Then the Nightfang howled in unison, their voices carrying across valleys and mountains. Even the Ironfang warriors bowed their heads, their will broken by what they had witnessed. Ronan raised her hand, fire still glowing faintly around her fingers. "Lysandra Vale," he declared, "is no longer prey, no longer cursed. She is Huntress, fireborn, alpha of legend." The world seemed to tremble at the words. But as the cheers rose and dawn's first light touched the horizon, a faint glimmer lingered in the sky, a single shard of silver, pulsing faintly. A reminder that though the curse was broken, the moon goddess always watched. And so, the legend of Lysandra Fireborn began, bound forever by love, fire, and destiny. That's the full finale, bringing everything full circle, betrayal avenged, curse broken, and Lysandra rising as a legend.